All right. How did you end up on Cape?
Um, I was born in Boston. My parents lived on the Cape, and so I grew up in Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up going to Howard High School,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like, I guess what you do is where you're born from is kind of where you hang out.
Yeah. Um, had you have any family members been in the military before you?
My grandfather was, he served in World War II. He was a naval gunner in the Navy, and he actually served on the USS Missouri, which is located in Hawaii. Went and saw it last year.
When did you realize you wanted to be in the military?
Actually, I was sitting in my library, and we were doing some senior report on something, some kind of economic project, and that's when we saw basically 9/11 happen that day, and that kind of changed my whole outlook from going from, wanting to play football, and so I ended up joining the armed forces after that, and that's pretty much what made me go that path.
What year? What years did you serve?
I served from 2002 to 2006
What was your job in military rank?
in rank.
Yeah.
My job was basically we were a forward operating team. Basically, we go and we take over bases if stuff goes down. We kind of we run patrols. We're part of a special operations security forces unit called the 820th. And basically, our job is basically train here and deploy, and then we deploy. We run convoys, patrols, things like that.
What did you enjoy most about your job?
I liked the camaraderie, the brotherhood of the military. Some things I don't like about it, but for the most part, it was an experience, and it's trying to make the world a better place, I guess.
What was your boot camp and training experience like?
Boot camp for the Air Force is, to me, it was just the kind of the beginning of the training, kind of breaking you down from a civilian into part of the armed forces. For me, the Air Force basic training was, a little easier than probably some of the other basic trainings, because they want, people with brains to go through. Not saying that the other armed forces don't have brains, but the Air Force, they just want them to be smart. So a lot of people are physically active in the Air Force, and my job more came physically after all the other training. Basic training wasn't that big a deal for me. It was 6 weeks long. It was good. Definitely changed.
So you were an actual pilot?
No. Everyone thinks that the Air Force, because it's mainly runway planes, but our job was more to call in air support if we needed, running patrols and stuff. It was more of a ground troop. But you have everything, just like every armed forces. You have cooks, you have personnel that run your bank accounts while you're away, things like that. Not very few are pilots actually in the Air Force.
What were your instructors like?
My instructors?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean instructors?
Like the people who taught you to do what you do, I guess.
Like teach, like
were they harsh? You always see.
Yeah, well, in basic training, their job is to break you down. They're called TIs, and their job is to basically just yell at you, break you down from civilian into military personnel. And after that, you are no longer civilian, and you are owned by the government. And your job is your job. So the people that teach you after that are the people that have been through situations, and they just want you to learn to be safe and stuff like that. So it goes from a very intense training environment to a little more relaxed. I mean, when you're dealing with weapons and stuff like that, you can get still a little more, still get practice safe procedures, just on the range. The range, they're a little more angry, if you do something wrong, because, it's a safety violation if you don't aim the weapon down range or something like that. But other than that, it's, training we did like normal PT every day, training, basically training for the mission, you know, going overseas. Basically what we did every day, and the instructors were nothing more than your people that were in charge, like staff sergeants, tech sergeants, and then you go up to your flight leaders and squad leaders, that kind of thing.
Do you recall your first days in service? What was it like?
My first days in service were basic training. It was basically, like I said, breaking you down. You start doing stupid stuff like learning how to fold your sheets a certain way, and if you don't do it right, you get demerits and yelled at, and to, you know, waking up to reveille, and I don't know. I mean, I can remember it. I think my best parts were like when we were overseas and we kind of like didn't really know what was going on, because I served in 2000. I was like basically one of the first Air Force units over in Iraq, and we convoyed from Kuwait into Talil on deuce and a halfs, or 5 tons, and I think that was kind of like the highlight funness of my experience, even though it was, you know, we didn't know whether it was chemical warfare going on or not, because we literally went in wearing charcoal chemical war suits, because of the, you know, the threat of chemical warfare being over there. So that was kind of fun, but dangerous.
Oh, why was that fun?
Oh, I don't know. It's just, you know, I was a young kid, you know, 18 years old, ready to, you know, go, I don't know, kind of make a difference after September 11th kind of thing. I mean, it was just a different mindset, I guess. I don't know. I can't explain it really.
Did you ever see combat?
I did. I did 2 combat tours. One in Talil Air Base, which is right outside Nasiriyah. We did a bunch of raids and stuff. Basically, like Saddam Hussein was in power at the time, and some of the people in Nasiriyah had evidence of, you know, like Saddam doing bad stuff, and our missions, some of our missions were to go over and get like DVDs of this kind of stuff, and to do raids and stuff, and we did convoys and patrols, and pretty much we were trying to find anything that was going on over there. And then my second tour was in Baghdad, and that was another good one.
Can you tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences?
Yeah, I have a few memorable ones. I mean, the memorable ones I'm not really. I don't like to talk about the memorable ones. Yeah. The ones that, you know, like besides, you know, bad stuff, I would say some of the times, just like joking around with other people, and I guess one of the funny ones was we were all sleeping on cots because we took over Talil Air Base. So we literally lived outside for a while, but then we took over this old Iraqi building, and we literally lived like cot to cot to cot to cot. And we were fed MREs for like 6 months straight until we got UGRs, which was like a giant MRE, just like a little better tasting, but still like crap. And so we ate these, but so we lived cot to cot, and these cots like sucked. Like you didn't want to sleep on these things anymore. So I heard about the army giving away mattresses, and they were like, I don't know, a couple miles away. So I got all frustrated in the middle of the night, and I ended up walking all the way to this army base and got the mattress, brought it home. I think it was like, I don't know, maybe 5 in the morning, finally got back to the base, and I was the only one sleeping on a mattress for like, I don't know, a month before the other people got a mattress, and you know, everybody was jealous of that.
So these troops around you were like brothers to you?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the food like?
Well, the food sucked. It was MREs, which basically an MRE is like it's a meal, and it comes in a package, and it has a little heater element, and you pour water into it, and that can heat whatever flavor. So you have like 25 flavors, and you eat one, it's like chicken noodle, and you'll eat that one because you'll think that's the best tasting for like, I don't know, like a week, and then that'll taste like complete crap to you. And then you'll try like another one will be like ham, but it's more like Spam, and it's just kind of like, and you just do this until you run out of the numbers, and then you just start all over. To this day, I don't even like M&Ms or Skittles because that's the only thing that came in MREs. And I remember seeing the M&M package, and it was like, you know, guess what the new M&M is? Well, I already knew it was blue, but these M&Ms were so old that there was still no blue M&M in them. Stuff like that, but yeah, they were just terrible. And then the UGR went from MRE to UGR, which basically we had like Cook's Convoy in, and they like made a little bit better food, but it was just basically heated giant MREs. It was like everything was a casserole of some sort. It was pretty bad, and just not things that you miss the most about the whole food thing was like just having to be able to drink a Coke, like not drinking a Coca-Cola in a year or having anything. I mean, we were literally rationed water. We got like 7 water bottles a day, and you could brush your teeth with it, you could shower with it. You couldn't really shower. I was one of the only ones that learned to shower because I just hung a Camelback up, you know, like a backpack water thing, and I hung it up and I would shower that way. But I would end up using one of my rationed water bottles to do that. So that was, so yeah, the food was terrible. And the second time, we were a little bit more, in Baghdad, we were a little bit more advanced where we had like a trailer truck, and the trailer truck would like serve food, and it was a little bit better food. It was like, still not like traditional amazing food that you can have here at Lorino's.
What modern day luxuries did you miss while you were enlisted?
What?
Modern day luxuries?
Luxuries?
Yeah.
Like overseas or like, because when we came home, we lived
Yeah.
normal
Like-
life.
Overseas, like you said, like you missed Coke and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So is that just
Yeah, I mean, basically your only dessert was M&Ms or Skittles, and that's, I mean, I can't even taste Skittles without hating them. But it was everything. It was anything and everything. But you just, just the thought of like a Coke would be like, oh man, I can't wait to have a Coke, and that kind of thing. I think somehow we got like this fresh watermelon from somewhere, like somebody delivered it from Kuwait, and the watermelon was like probably the best tasting thing we've had forever. And me and my buddy, we used to sit on a post, and I remember we'd dream of what we're gonna do when we get out of the military, and we were literally gonna try to own like an ice cream, like truck business and deliver ice creams. And we just thought, I mean, these stupid things you sit on post and think about, or in a convoy or something like that.
How has your military experience affected you in your life today?
In a lot of ways, it's good and bad. Good being, I don't know, it made me a stronger person. It definitely helps, in certain relations and dealing with certain things, a lot calmer. On the other hand, you're a lot more easily to get, mad about certain things. There's a lot more bad than good. Good, you can get jobs, better jobs, being military and stuff like that, or ex-military. Bad being, I get sleep problems, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I think just makes you a stronger person, I guess.
Do you think your country has repaid you for being a veteran?
It's not really. I never thought of it of trying to get anything back from the military. I think it was someone has to do it. I think everyone should do it. At least 2 years. I think it's I'm not gonna say JFK's quote or anything, but I think it's, you know, you need to give to your country and not so much ask for, you know, that kind of thing.
If your children ask to enlist when they're of age, what advice would you give them?
I would be happy about it.
Happy about it?
Yeah.
Would you give them any advice on the side? Tell them any?
I mean, I would hope at the time we weren't, you know, in war or going to war or anything like that. But there's a lot of education out of it, a lot of benefits besides, you know, you never want your children to go to war or anything like that. You know, possibly not come home. But I think overall it does make you a better person. And if my son, you know, wants to say, "Hey, Dad, I want to go in the military," I would be proud.
Were you excited when your service came to an end?
I was. I think I called my mom and I left a voice message and it was like just ridiculous. And, you know, I just had enough. I think I did my time and I just had enough. And, yeah, it was after doing 2 tours and stuff and you never know whether you're living or dying or things like that. You're just kind of always living on the edge. I mean, even when I came home, you just partied like a rock star, and I just had enough of it, and it was good. My mom was happy to have me home and not have to worry about me going away again.
How did you keep in touch with your family? Just by calling them?
Yeah, I mean, when you're home, you just live a normal life. You know, you're training every day, that kind of stuff. But you can. I was stationed in Georgia, but yeah, you just call mom like you would normally. My mom tried to buy me when I was over there, tried to buy me a satellite phone. It wasn't even a satellite. I forget what it was, like a tri-band phone. It worked in like because we flew to Germany and then from Germany it worked in Germany, but it didn't work in Kuwait before we convoyed over. So basically, but we did have like, you know, laptops in Iraq, but we used satellite phones too here and there. But you're only allowed to like call home like once every 3 months or something.
What'd you do in Germany? Germany
was just a transfer over. So basically, we flew, I think, in a C5 from Georgia to Germany. I mean, we might have made a couple more stops, and then in Germany, C5s always break down. So we broke down in Germany.
What's
It's a giant plane. It's like
How
a
much
giant
people
military
do?
plane.
Oh, is it one of those like?
It's the big, huge
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
C-17's a little smaller. C-130 is the ones that like we land. It's like combat landing. You land into Iraq. The first time we convoyed from Kuwait into Iraq through a 2.5 or a 5 ton. It's like a giant truck, and we all kind of piled in the back and just aimed our weapons out the sides, kind of thing. And then the second trip, we actually, you know, did like combat landings with C-130s.
Did you ever like parachute?
Yeah.
Planes?
Yep. I was airborne, basically Fort Benning. Our unit, there's a lot of guys that are Pathfinder and Rangers and airborne. It's just our unit allows us to go to certain Army schools or even Marine schools. And one of the ones that, you know, I always wanted to do was airborne. So I ended up going to Fort Benning, getting airborne certified, getting my wings, and then just another thing. And our unit wanted to get a combat jump into Iraq, so we ended up going up to in Talil, and it wasn't like a real combat jump. It was just in combat area. Basically, all of Iraq is combat. So if you jumped in, you'd get your combat wings, kind of thing. So.
Well, it's often said that a strong sense of humor helps through difficult times. Do you have any humorous stories?
Yeah, I mean, we always joked around and did stupid stuff to each other. Overseas, yeah, I mean, I remember we'd do pranks on each other and stuff like that, and remember this kid's like, you have your own little area. In Baghdad, we had like our own little tent area. So you'd have like your tent, and then it'd be sectioned off with like, you just hang a blanket up, and that would be your section kind of thing. And so I remember we did like, I don't know, baby powdered the crap out of one area, and then so you'd come back and it would just be everything covered in powder, that kind of thing. And then one time I duct taped everything this kid owned, and it was just literally duct taped. And then we did it again with like tin foil. Everything was just covered in tin foil. It was just dumb stuff like that, just to keep our minds off stuff. And that was just some of the stuff. I remember when we were in Tellil, we were, anytime the explosion went or something, we'd say gas, 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 and then everyone would throw their gas mask on, kind of thing. And I remember we'd just bust each other's, and then so you would end up, saying gas, gas, even if something exploded. And I remember this kid, he wasn't having his part that basically, it's like a breather cap thing, I forget what they call it, but it basically, filters the air. Okay. And he didn't have the canister on, and I remember he started doing the funky chicken on the ground because he thought that he was going to be exposed to gas, but it was no gas. But it was kind of funny. I don't know, we did all kinds of dumb stuff.
Are you still in contact with the people you work with?
I am. I have a few close ones of mine that were on my fire team that one's a sheriff now in Louisiana, a couple of them in Florida. But yeah, it's like the modern day. See, that we didn't have Facebook when I was first started. Facebook was for college kids only. I think it was MySpace or something, but I think everyone has Facebook now, and so I can still find them, and they still contact me every once in a while, and stuff like that.
If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer this, but were there any casualties in your unit?
Yeah, there were. My unit itself had one, which were a small unit, but the convoys that we went on, there was a few army convoys where a couple of guys got basically killed.
Oh, what did the enemies use for like weapons?
Would they use weapons?
Yeah, like.
They used anything. I mean, they had most. I mean, their weapon of choice would be like an IED. They did carry AKs. IEDs more than anything. That was. I mean, they'd put IEDs in dead dogs. They'd put IEDs and. I mean, everything. We're a unit that traveled our convoys on this road called the MSR Tampa. And it was technically the most dangerous road in the world to travel because of all the IEDs everywhere, and they were just sick the way they did their IEDs and different stuff and things like that. One of our units got blown up from an IED. It was a up armor Humvee, thank God. But the two people in my unit, one guy totally shattered like his femur and his whole lower half. The other kid got thrown out of. I think he was in the turret. But we just kept going over this area, and we were patrolling, and they put like an IED, but it was like a 40 millimeter, maybe even bigger. But it was a mortar basically buried in this dirt, and they saw our tire tracks, and we ended up running over and hitting it, and we ended up getting the guys, finding them though, and with that season here. And then, yeah, so it was, their AKs and more, any nation like that. And then IEDs were their kind of more weapon of choice. They would send mortar rounds over and stuff too, but they were really bad at hitting anything.
What weapons did you use?
I was an M4 203 Grenadier. So basically, I carry an M4, the 203, and I carry my sidearm was a Beretta M9. I was trained on the M60, the M240, the M249, the Mark 19, and the 50 cal. Well, I also was trained on the M124 or the M24. What else? We were trained in grenades, that kind of stuff. Pretty much, our mission was to pretty much carry weapons. So we were trained on most weapons that are used in the military today.
But most of your time, like in the war, it wasn't a lot of combat, right? It was mostly like training in camp, right?
My unit, I joined a unit that basically we train for 6 months and then we deploy. So ours is actually the opposite. We do a lot more combat than we do here in the States. That's why I was like just exhausted by the time I was done in the 4 years, because most of the time I was actually overseas.
Mm-hmm. Did you recall the day your service then ended?
I don't know, sometime in 2006, maybe like May.
Were you overseas?
I wasn't.
You wasn't?
I was home for 4 months or something.
What would you do when you would come back home to see your family?
A couple times I do that. Basically, you came home, you train, but you'd have a lot of time off too, because you get so much from a deployment. You get so much leave time, and then you get like so much like just time from being deployed. It's like extra time, and then you'd have like a bunch of money in the bank because you didn't spend any money, and it would just be racking up. So you'd come home and just kind of like party like a rock star. You didn't really know when you were going to come back, or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of my time in Tampa and Panama City, and just I don't know, a lot of fun stuff.
Would you do it all again if you had the opportunity?
Yeah, I would do it all again.
You would. Why? Like.
I mean, I don't regret. I mean, there's some things that you look back and you're like, if we did things differently, but I don't really regret anything that happened. I mean, I've come to the realization it is what it is, and I don't know. I just couldn't see me doing anything else. I think it made me who I am today, whether it's good or bad. My wife can say it's bad sometimes, but I think for the most part it's good. So I definitely would, do it again.
And you're in the fire department, right?
I am now, yeah. I'm a full-time paramedic firefighter.
If you could go back and change one thing about the war, what would it be and why?
What would I change?
Yeah, if.
I would just change one. I'd change the story of that. One thing that I don't really like to talk about, but I would just change how it went down, and maybe some people wouldn't have got hurt. That kind of thing. That'd be. Certain things, kind of haunt you, and a few of them do, and I guess that would be the biggest thing that I would change.
For the things, what were you board?
Board?
Aboard? Like.
What was I aboard?
Helicopters?
Yeah,
planes? Like.
Yeah, I mean we were part of the Air Force, so I mean we'd always.
Were you more like? Would you like be on the plane in combat or on the helicopter in combat?
No. We're ground troops.
Oh, okay.
So we basically, if stuff goes bad, we can tell the Air Force to help us out. They'll send an A-10 Sport, something like that. Or basically, we're more likely to get our support from the Air Force than, you know, like an Army unit or something like that. That's why the Army likes working with us, because, you know, we have the backup of the Air Force, which, I mean, we're still an Air Force unit, but we're kind of more of an Army unit, I guess, because we're only ground troops. I know it's a lot of people get confused and they think Air Force is planes and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but it's just, yeah, it's not true. It's only officers or pilots and very few pilots.
Alright, if you were to join the military again, would you change your job? Like, would you go back into the Air Force?
No, I enjoyed my job. I think it was good. It's right where I wanted to be. It got me overseas. At the time, it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think it was good. It was more of a militarized unit. Some of the Air Force is not so militarized, but I just wanted to join the hardest one to get into. When I joined the military, and the Air Force was the hardest one to get into. And I think that's why I went Air Force, and I wanted to get into the action, so that's why I joined my job.
Alright, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.